Attention campers, this is your camp director. In today's all-camp event for the She-Nanigans badge, we will be covering Barb and Star go to Vista Del Mar, Bridesmaids, Bring It On, Joyride, and Romy and Michele's high school reunion. Joining me is Camp Councilor Kelsey Kilpatrick. Additionally, as a reminder to the girls in Cabin 14, while TikTok trends are fun, please don't do them at the expense of other campers. And please give the boys in Cabin 13 their underpants back. And as always, it's going to be a great day at Camp Film Camp. Hello, welcome to Camp Film Camp. Today we are talking about female-led comedies for the She-Nanigans badge. My guest today is, you may have seen her on this channel. She's been on Cinema Soapbox and All Time Top 5. But today she is joining me on Camp Film Camp, the wonderful Kelsey Kilpatrick. Hello, Kelsey.
Hi, Matt. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be talking about funny women today with you.
Me too. I'm very excited. And just a little note in terms of the day we're recording here. Today would have been my late sister's 40th birthday. And this was just happened to be the day that we're recording on, but it's kind of apt because my sister was the funniest person I know. And as someone who has to be the funniest person in every room that I'm in, spending my life best friends with someone who was funnier than me was a challenge. But it's so today, as we're talking about these funny women, I just want to dedicate this episode to my sister. It's her birthday as of the day that we were recording, not the day that it is being released. So when it's released, just know less than a week ago it was my sister's birthday. August 30th is the birthday. But today we're gonna talk about some funny ladies, and we're gonna remember my sister, Lisa Chapman, who was the funniest and baddest bitch that we know. Love. All right, so getting that out of the way, let's start talking about some funny women.
Love.
Before we get into the first movie, how did you feel about this slate? Had you seen them all before, or were there a bunch of first watches?
So I had seen Bridesmaids, but it had been a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I had watched Joyride in theaters, and that was the latest ever releases. So that's the one that I obviously remembered the most. And I think I must have given it 4 or 5 stars on Letterboxd. I loved that movie when I watched it. But the other 3 were pretty brand new to me. I feel like I may have gotten glimpses of Bring It On, because I feel like when ABC Family existed as a network, they kind of did Bring It On weekends, the way that they also did Harry Potter weekends. Yeah. And I feel like, scrolling through the TV channels, I might have caught glimpses of Bring It On, but I don't think I ever formally watched it. So, yeah.
Nice. I that actually surprised me a little bit, and I think it's just because you were in the theater program with Dill, and Dill didn't he do Bring It On, or your school did Bring It On, the musical?
Our high school didn't do Bring It On. I don't know if he did Bring It On somewhere else, but I know the musical. But also, I think the musical is based off of the Bring It On with Hayden Panettiere.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's a different story. It's a different story in the musical.
Yeah, I haven't seen the musical. I had intended to watch it before, to find a copy of it and watch it before we did this, but I didn't get a chance to. I knew that the story was different, and I'm a Lin-Manuel Miranda fan, so, and I know he did the songs for that musical. But okay, well, excellent. I had not seen one of them. The rest were ones that I had seen multiple times actually. And yes, you did give Joyride 4 stars. I was logging it on Letterboxd today and saw your saw your rating as
Okay,
well.
cool. Yeah,
But okay, well,
good to know.
let's get into the first one, which is the one that was the first time watch for me, which is Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar. Um, this one, when because behind the scenes here, behind the curtain, you are the one who suggested this theme. This was your theme idea. So the first one that I thought of when I was like, all right, let's do this one, was Barb and Star. And the reason is because I had seen the trailer like in theater, and I wasn't like impressed with the trailer, but people I knew were like raving about it. And I was like, I should probably give this movie a shot. And based on the fact that it's Kristen Wiig, it's probably going to be pretty campy.
Yeah.
So that's why I was just like, yeah, I want to include this on here. And I was for someone who was like not interested in this movie, like when I saw the trailer for it, I was surprised at how much I really liked this movie, how much this movie just really tickled my fancy. It was a real tit flapper.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this was a first time watch for you, I gathered from that.
This was a first time watch for me. Again, like you said, Matt, I remember watching the trailer and I thought that it was like, because they set it up like it's almost like gonna be like a spoof on Stranger Things in the channel, in the trailer. And because her name is Barb, I was like, is this like, are they making something that has to do with Stranger Things? It has nothing to do with Stranger
No.
Things, if anyone's curious. And honestly, as I was watching it, I was like, I bet Matt really likes this one.
Nice.
It just seemed like a movie that was up your alley.
And it absolutely was. An interesting thing is that when I saw the trailer, I think that part of the thing that uh, I don't remember the trailer very well. You said Stranger Things. I was like, oh, I might remember that a little bit, but I don't really remember. What I do remember thinking is, I don't know who those characters are, because it seemed like to me, it seemed like it was a intellectual property, like maybe a spin-off, like an SNL type movie. And I was like, I mean, I watch SNL sometimes, but maybe this is just one that I missed. Like this is a bit that I missed or something like that. It's not based on anything, which is something that you don't really get as much anymore. We got that all the time in the like 80s and 90s, like a movie based around characters with their names in the title, just and these lived in characters that aren't based on any sort of intellectual property. It's something you don't really get a whole lot anymore. Usually if you see someone's name in the title, you're like, that's probably based on a book or a show or something. But it's not based on anything. It's an original concept, which I really dug about it. It felt very nostalgic for me as someone who grew up in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, totally.
So how did you thought that I would like it, and you were right. How did you feel about this movie?
I thought that this one was very silly.
Mhm.
I'm my style of comedy, like the comedy that I really get into is comedy that I A find relatable and B think is like very smart.
Mhm.
And not that what is happening here like isn't smart. It's definitely very creative. But it's definitely, I remember specifically thinking like it's silly and there are moments that like I'm laughing and I'm having a good time. I don't ever see myself going back to this movie.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit different than my take on it. Yeah, I could see it's definitely silly. And as far as the relatability, I mean, I am getting up there in terms of the middle age. So maybe I am a little bit closer to their age, but I'm definitely not uh the I'm not a woman, number one. Number two,
Right.
that their like whole lifestyle, that's not me. So I didn't necessarily find that aspect relatable, but um it did feel like those characters felt like as much as they were uh, as much as they were caricatures of a type of character, the type of person that they were caricaturizing, is that the word? I don't know. It felt like real people. It felt like people I might know, especially because I live in Oklahoma. I come
Mm.
from small towns, so like those type of like old lady best friends is something I definitely can uh, understand and recognize. That was the thing that felt that I think I enjoyed most, is that these characters felt lived in. It felt like, even though it's not based on anything, that we could have seen their adventures before, because they felt like they were really really well fleshed out. I'll also say, just real quick before I pass it back over to you, I'll also say I thought the writing in this was very smart, but it was silly smart. Like it was very campy, and that's it's perfect for the show because the
Right.
camp factor was through the roof on this one. Um, I thought that the writing was very very smart. It was there's a kind of comedy that I do enjoy, because I also like really smart comedy. That's generally what I gravitate toward. But there's a type of smart comedy that I really love, which is really smart dumb comedy. Uh, and you've got and that comes to things like, I'm a Monty Python guy. Like I grew up watching a lot of Monty Python. Um,
Mm.
they are really smart dumb comedy, like, so it's that kind of a thing, and that's where this falls in for me. So I do think it's smart, but it is very the the tone that they're going for is very dumb. So I agree with that there.
Yeah, it's funny, Matt, that you say that these two. What I will say about Barb and Star is that their connection and their friendship is definitely the strongest part of the film. Like,
Mhm,
you definitely want to root for them, and it's hilarious how they're both like lying to each other, and
mhm,
you're just waiting for the fact that like that's gonna have to come to a head at some point. Like, they're both
mhm.
gonna have to reveal to each other eventually, like what they've actually both been up to their whole vacation.
Right.
But I was thinking, I was like, these two women feel like women that I don't think exist in any like in any part of the world, like at all. They just feel like so campy. Like, there's no other word for it. And not to say these aren't two characters that I feel like I could get invested in. Like, if they, came out with like a series where it's just Barb and Star getting into some shenanigans together.
Mhm.
I was watching and I was thinking to myself, I was like, they're the two most ridiculous people I've ever like bared witness to ever in my life. And yeah, I lost my train of thought. When I think
No.
of like smart comedy, I think of things that are very like dialogue
Mhm,
heavy. One of the things that come to mind for me is like Broad City in that sense.
mhm.
And like even like New Girl in a way, like where it's just like very like fast and like quippy. Um, Speaking of like the pace of things, this movie was like damn near 2 hours long. And I think that a good comedy should stay in the realm of like being a 90-minute, being like a tight 90 minutes, because I think part of it is that it just like has to move. Like, that's part of the funny factor, is
Mhm.
having good timing. And I just like kind of bothers me sometimes when like bits go on just a little too long, because then for me, it loses its effect and now it's no longer as funny.
I can see that. And I the things that you mentioned as smart comedy, I agree with you. Those are very smart comedy, and they fall on a different side of smart comedy for me. I just think that there's just different types of smart comedy, but I can definitely see
Mhm.
what you're saying as far as them not existing. I agree. Those two don't like those people don't exist. I think they are caricatures of people who very much do exist, and that's
Sure,
that's kind of
sure.
the thing that I was saying there. But in terms of the length, yeah, it's long. I actually like long comedies. I know that a lot of people have a problem with Judd Apatow's how he always, he does 2-hour comedies.
Mm-hmm.
That's never bothered me because
Mm.
as long as it's keeping me entertained throughout. I don't care about how long it is, because the length should, you know, people complain about something like a Martin Scorsese movie being 3 hours, and I say, if he can fill that with, if he is executing throughout those 3 hours, then I have no problem.
Mm-hmm.
Of short, some movies are shorter, and if that's the amount of time they need to make that movie work, then it works. So I think a movie should be whatever amount of time it needs to make the movie work. I can see how you would feel like this might have been a little bit too long. It didn't feel long to me, but I was also like just giddy throughout the the movie. Uh,
Totally.
so I think that comes down to, does this work for you? And if it does, then the length probably isn't an issue. And if it doesn't, then the length could definitely be an issue.
Well, I can talk about some of my favorite moments in this film.
Okay.
Some of the moments that like really had me laughing. Well, first of all, they on their way to their vacation, they tell this whole made up story about a person named Trish and how like, oh, a girl named Trish, like she's dependable, like like you can depend on Trish, and then they just start adding to her lore, and then it all like comes to a head where literally tell her whole life story and like how she even dies. Like they're like she would go out like falling to her death and like a rocky cliff, and like they're both like sobbing by the end of it, and I was like, okay, that's funny, like that's ridiculous, and that's funny.
Yes,
um do you
I
have
agree.
anything to say about Trish?
No,
Okay.
the whole Trish bit, I loved, and I love that it comes back, and that
Right,
there's a
right.
follow up on it. I love the callback on it, but the one of the parts that made me laugh the hardest is when it cuts and it feels like it's cutting away after they're telling the whole Trish thing. It feels like it's cutting to the next thing and they're moving on, but what it actually cuts to is them leaving the airport. It's still talking about Trish sobbing about the about the that that they've gotten to the end of that story. That that part really made me laugh. I
Yeah.
very much enjoyed that. We'll talk about it in a minute, but here in a little bit. But uh, Kristen Wiig, based on two of the movies we watched in this section, uh, is really good at writing dialogue for or writing scenes set in planes because because
Yeah, yeah,
both both movies that she wrote in this slate, the best scene is the one that takes place on a plane.
yeah,
So
totally. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. But then like in this movie they take it a step further and they make Trish like a mermaid in the sea played by Reba McEntire.
mhm.
And I'm just like, that's the part where I'm like, okay. Sure.
Reba's from Oklahoma. She's an Okie. So
Oh,
yeah,
shout out.
hometown hero there. Um, but I liked that it came back and because it plays on that first part. It's not that she's a mermaid. It's that they because once she falls off that cliff in their story, uh, some say she's still out there. That whole thing, and she
Yeah.
is still out there. That was the thing. That was her spirit, saving women from the ocean,
Right.
which I love.
Totally. The other moment that I liked, I'm trying to go in order of where they came in the movie, but then Jamie Dornan, who, first of all, I did not expect to see in this movie,
Mm,
um, has not one but two musical moments.
hmm
And the second one, where he's kind of doing this like parody of a boy band song, like singing on a beach. And then he keeps gesturing to like the seagulls around him. And he's like, seagull on a tire. Like, do you hear my prayer? Like, seagull, like doing this. And I'm like, this is funny. This is really making me laugh. And yeah, I think this is one of the moments where I was like, I bet Matt's enjoying this one.
yeah, the because here's the thing about that. I I have no feelings about Jamie Dornan at all. I don't like him. I don't dislike him. He is
Yeah.
nothing to me. When I see him show up, I'm like, oh yeah, it's him. Um, and so I have no feelings about him at all. And I was feeling that way in this movie. His first musical, or that first musical number that's set in the hotel, which made me laugh so much. His moment in that musical was not very good. And it was funny. It was funny that moment is diegetic. Like it's happening in real life. It's not part of a musical. It's not magical realism. They have that all planned. But this means that part of the plan is for people in their rooms to also have a part of the musical. Uh,
yeah.
which I love that. But his part, like the ADR was not very good, and his singing just was. It was not meant. This was obviously not meant for his register or whatever. So
Yeah.
that part was not spectacular. So when it gets to his next scene, and I'm already like, I don't care about this guy very much. But when it gets to that, I loved his second musical moment. Like his first one did nothing for me, and most of the movie he does nothing for me. And really, he's not got much of a character. He's there to be the thing that they are fighting over, like the thing that divides them. He's the MacGuffin of this movie.
Yeah.
But which is excellent, because we're talking about female-led stuff that generally that it's a woman who is the throwaway character who's in the middle of all of the stuff. So I love that a man gets to fill that role in this movie. But when it gets to that, I loved that. I mean, this musical moment walked so that I'm Just Ken could run. Like this is the I'm Just Ken. Like
Yep.
I don't know if Greta Gerwig thanked Kristen Wiig in her like
Gave her some
in
writing
anything.
credits
Like,
at the bottom
yeah,
of
like,
Barbie.
but that is definitely what we have. Like it's in the same vein. Like they are those two songs are brothers. Like it's and I love that. But yes, every time they cut to the seagulls, and he's singing to the seagulls and about the seagulls, that made me laugh each
Yeah.
time.
And I just love how he starts singing about the things that he's just doing. He's like, now I'm climbing a tree. And I'm just like this is silly and funny, and I like this. The last part that really made me laugh was the whole Morgan Freeman as a crab bit,
Mhm.
where he has this like whole monologue to Kristen Wiig's character, I believe, about like just like being a crab and like what she has to do next. And then he's like, oh, but you know, like that's all for me. Like I'm walking myself into the sea, and you know, like goes off on this whole like emotional monologue. I was just waiting for this is where the comedy averted my expectations for a second, because I was just waiting for a seagull to come and just snatch him up like mid-sentence, like, oh, and like my life has been so meaningful, and now I'm returning to the ocean. And it's like like but you know, he makes it. He likes it, like fades to the sunset, and the crab continues on. And I was like, this is just so random. I'm like, I would have loved to been in the room with Kristen Wiig to like when this like occurred to her to like
Right.
have this bit in the movie.
Right. Um, that the voice actor for that is not Morgan Freeman. Uh, I know. It's an actor named Josh Robert Thompson who I've heard do Morgan Freeman many times before. Uh, and uh, and when I heard it, I was like, I bet that's Josh Robert Thompson. And so I waited in the credits, and I was watching in the credits, and when it got to Morgan Freeman with a D,
Yes.
it said Josh Robert Thompson. I was like, I knew it. I knew that was Josh Robert Thompson. But yes, I thought that bit was very funny. And when he's like, I was in prison, and then
Yeah.
and all that, and he's like, I'm going off to the sea. I loved that. I loved that bit. It was very funny. I agree.
Wow. I'm like checking the credits right now because like I don't believe you, or like the IMDb rather. I'm sure you're not lying to me right now, but that's crazy. I was like, damn, they got Morgan Freeman for this. I guess Kristen Wiig called in a favor. I don't even know from who, but
Yeah, but yeah. So the did you have anything else that you wanted to add before we move on to the next movie about Barb and Star? I obviously really liked it, and I've talked about most of that. Oh, I will say before we move on, Um, I love that Kristen Wiig played both uh whichever character she played, Barb or Star. I think she was Barb, right? I don't know.
I think she was Star,
She was
actually.
Star. Yes, that's right. She was Star.
Yeah.
And I try to remember because she says "Oh my Barb," but uh, and Barb says "Oh my Star" during and for some reason that messed me up when they did that.
Yeah.
Um, but uh, she plays Star and the bad guy, the very very white person that they are fighting, or that is the antagonist, which is also something that I love. That's something that's straight out of the 80s and 90s, which is this comedy that also has this like villain, but like super villain, not just like the antagonist, but like a super villain in it. That's very much an 80s and 90s thing, which also is part of why I think I like this movie so much. What did you think of Kristen Wiig as the villain?
I'm learning this for the first time.
Are you serious?
Yes. I was watching her and I was like, I wonder who this is. Like, they're doing such a good job. I
I
literally
love
was
that.
like, oh my God, like, good for her. Like, she's really killing it. I mean, the second this movie starts, you know what you're getting into, because
Mhm.
it starts with a little boy. He's the newspaper boy. So you're immediately like, what decade is this movie
Mhm.
taking place in? And so he's like throwing these newspapers from his bicycle, and then all of a sudden he like goes through a tree to get to a lair. Now there's this whole there's this whole B plot happening where these people are making like deadly mosquitoes, are going to kill all these people, and then you find out that the reason why she wants to kill everyone is because she was embarrassed as a child. And I was like, somehow Barb and Star are going to like save the day. And yeah, I mean, I think I just loved how women centered this movie was, because you have the whole female friendship between Barb and Star, and then you have the female villain, and so you kind of get like the contrast between those two relationships happening. And then I just love, this is what I was going to say about Jamie Dornan when we were talking about him. I loved how his character, his objective like was just so simple. He wanted to be an official couple. That's
Mhm.
all he wanted. It was very simplistic, like very like himbo-ish.
Mhm.
And it was almost like they were kind of doing the flip of like, oh, the man character gets the very intricate, multifaceted character storyline. And then the women just like are just there, and they're the girlfriends and the sidekicks and like whatever. And it just felt like they were turning that kind of trope on its head and like giving Barb, Star, and the villain all this like juicy stuff to work off of. And
Mhm.
Jamie Dornan was just like, I want to be an official couple. Please, let's be an official couple. So, and
Yeah.
also the whole montage of them getting drunk off of that treasure, uh, the hidden treasure drink that they did,
Yeah.
because I love how clearly like practical that effect was, where they're all sitting in a line at the table, and then the table starts moving because they're all getting
Mhm.
high, and then they're moving throughout the room. And I was just like, oh my God, like this is cool. This is what movies are missing these days.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved how female centric this movie was as well, and that because it felt so much like something from like the 90s, how it flipped those tropes from the 90s on its head, which is why it kind of disappoints me that this was directed by a man. It was written by two women. It was written by uh uh Kristen Wiig, and I've forgotten her name, but the woman who plays Barb.
Annie Momolo,
Yes. Who is in at least two of the movies
Joyride.
we watched during for this. But she uh she was it was written by those two, but directed by a man, which kind of, I was like, gosh, this is the newest of all of these, so it feels like this one uh would have known that maybe a female centric movie needed a woman. But I will give it grace on it
Yeah.
because it was going for a very 90s style. maybe it was it made sense to have a man direct it for that reason, like because that's how they did. I don't know. It doesn't hurt the movie for me. It's a little disappointing. Like, gosh, that would have been cool if they had gotten a woman to direct this, but
Yeah,
that's really
totally.
neither here nor there. All right, so let's move on from this movie to our next movie, which is also written by and starring Kristen Wiig, and that is Bridesmaids. Um, all right, this one you said you had seen before?
Yeah, but it had been a really long time, and I really think that, like, I really only remember, like, the scene when they all have, like, food poisoning together,
Mhm.
and I know that it was, like, I remember the conflict specifically between, like, Kristen Wiig's character and Rose Byrne's character, where they're just kinda, like, competing to see who can be just, like, the better maid of honor. And I thought going into this one, I was going to like it a lot more,
Oh
especially
wow,
coming off of just being a maid of honor and a
yeah.
bridesmaid, 2 separate occasions. I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be so relatable now. I know exactly what these women are going through. This is gonna be great." And I was like, "Oh, this isn't relatable at all. This is not what I had to deal with at all." Maybe being a bridesmaid looked different in, like, the 2010s, but what I had to deal with this past in 2025, like, a little similar, but, like, not at all. Um, and again, this is like a I just think some bits going on a little too long for me.
Mm, interesting. Yeah, that surprises me that's I thought that this was going to be a home run for you.
Yeah,
Um,
me too.
so this one is one I've seen many times. It was a favorite of my mom and my sister, and so it's one that I've seen a lot, and it's I think I really love this. Kristen Wiig. She knows what it takes to make Maddie Fresh laugh. Uh, and I'm kind of in love with her. She's got what I crave, I guess, for in terms of comedy. Um, but yeah, one thing I really like with kind of the central conflict is that oftentimes when we're focused on a character who is insecure, um, and their insecurities are what's causing a lot of the problems. Usually the person the person that they're jealous of or that they're in conflict with is usually acting appropriately, or at least in it appears that they're acting appropriately. What I love about this is that both characters are very insecure. Like both of the leads there, Kristen Wiig and Rose Byrne, are both uh insecure, and they're both doing the same thing. They're both trying to one up each other. It's not just one sided, and that's one thing that I really love about this movie is that it's not just us cringing at Kristen Wiig. We also get the other side where she's coming up and also trying to be the last one to have a speech and who is also uh, maneuvering herself to try to win this war, basically. I really like that. That's something that we don't often get. Usually we have to kind of feel bad. Usually it's just cringe at the protagonist, and it's kind of cringe all the way around, which I really enjoy. Um, I mentioned it earlier. The airplane scene makes me laugh. Like it makes me laugh out loud every time. And I specifically this time I'm watching it and I'm like, gosh, this is the best scene in this movie. It is so funny. Every time she comes through that curtain, especially after she's like after she's like all drunk and has taken the pills. Uh oh god, that whole scene is so funny. Plus you've got the scene with the Melissa McCarthy with the air marshal.
Yes.
That stuff's all very funny. It's just such a funny scene. Do you like that scene as well?
Yes, I think that this scene is probably the best in the movie and definitely the most I laughed.
Hmm.
All of the like the first the speech scene you were just talking about for me went on just like they tried to one up each other just like a little too just one too many times. I think that if they shortened it to just like, she gets the mic, they take it back. It just should have been a little shorter for me.
If I can just say on that,
Go
I
ahead.
agree. It should have been shorter. The fact that it was too long was the right answer because we need to feel uncomfortable with how long it is.
Okay. Okay. Maybe. Okay. Then maybe for that one specifically, it's the point. There's another scene way later on in the movie that I also was sitting there being like, okay, like get to the next thing. Like,
Right.
um, but the airplane scene, yes, is very funny. I especially love the moment where she comes back, she has the sunglasses on, she's pretending like she's supposed to be there, and they're just like the flight attendant is like, you need to take your seat, and she's just sitting there. Yeah, she's like, yeah, everyone take their seats. Like, that was like the time where I was like, that's the kind of like quippy, like very like back and forth, like dialogue humor that I'm like really into, and I think that was like the best example of it in this whole movie.
Mhm,
um yeah, I think what I wanted out of this movie was more of an ensemble piece. I
mhm,
feel like the other bridesmaids, besides Melissa McCarthy, who I think was the best one in this whole movie, really kind of got the shorter end of the stick, and were kind of like forgotten about and like really didn't have like fleshed arcs to like go off of. I kind of wanted to see a lot more of the group of them and rather just this competition between Kristen Wiig and Rose Bryn. Um, and I think that's just what I was expecting of it. I mean, like, we have the poster right behind us, like, we see them all together. It's literally called Bridesmaids, and I feel
mhm.
like, the other 2 don't really have much to do in this, and I just feel like it should have been more, like, equally divided, I guess.
Mm. I could see that. I could see that. I agree, especially uh Ellie Kemper and whatever, I forget her name. The other
I
one, the blonde one.
I'm literally looking it up right now because
It's
I also
she has
don't
three
know.
names, and I think two of them, and so it's I didn't want to say it without.
Wendy McLendon Covey. Okay.
Okay, uh, yes, those two I feel like could have had a bigger role. However, I think that we kind of got, if they were more incorporated into the whole story, I think probably would have been better. I agree with you. I think we got the majority of what we needed from those two. One of them is a jaded housewife, and the other one is a new wife, and who hasn't had any experiences, and their value really lies in them, any of their conversations, which is why, again, why that plane scene is so good, uh,
Yeah, yeah.
because it also includes them getting drunk together, and all that. So I love that. Um, as a oh god, I don't know that I could. I don't know that I should say something like this. Other as a father of a teenager, there's a lot that she talks about that I'm like, no kidding. Like,
Yeah.
there's questions you don't ask once you have a teenager, like a
Yeah,
teenage boy.
yeah.
Um,
Ugh.
I broke a blanket in half. Uh,
Oh god. Yeah.
that kind of stuff. So there was a lot that I found very relatable with this. Also, I think that the fact that a lot of the humor really was targeted at my mom specifically, and my sister. My sister also really loved this movie, but especially my mom. My mom loved this movie. It's one of her favorite movies. A lot of the comedy was targeted toward her specifically. That I think that also makes me, gives me a little bit more of a positive feeling about this. But this is a movie that I really, really love. I've seen it many times. Did you have any other thoughts on this one before we move on?
The other scene that I just
yes.
thought went on a hair too long was when she's trying to get the cops' attention and she keeps driving back and forth and is like, "Oh, now I'm speeding. Oh, now I'm drinking and driving." And
Yeah.
I think like the perfect ending, which I feel like totally would have worked, is when she just yells, "I'm topless. I'm totally topless." And I was like, that's a good finale. Like that was a good way to end it, I feel.
I agree. I think that one went on too long. That is the one part when I was rewatching it where I was like, how long does this go? And there's too many times where she just speeds past, and I'm just like, get to the bits in this one. Like, and I agree. I think that if because of his character, and especially like his all shucks cute, funny character that he has, if that had been the last one and he would just been like, well, she's breaking the law, I've got to go. Like, if he had been like justified it to himself out loud, that would have made that really funny. Like justified that to himself that he had to do it, not just to see her topless. Like that would have been really funny.
Yes, I agree. And last thought, my fight or flight was triggered by the entire character of John Hamm's character, Ted. And like hearing a man say like, "Well, I just don't want to break any promises I can't keep." I was like, "Oh!" I was like, "I'm go good next, on to the next now." That one felt too real. I didn't like that one. Move on.
Yeah, he was a real wiener.
Yeah.
I like John Hamm. He was very funny
Yes.
in that role, but that character was just a real wang. I agree. Okay, well then let's move on to the next movie, which is nope, not Bridesmaids. Hold on, there we go. Bring It On.
Hell yeah.
Okay, so this one came out when I was in high school, and it's a high school movie. So it was very much like this one definitely resonated with me because I was its target demographic. I will say that I loved this movie when it came out. I don't love it as much as I used to, and I think it's just a matter of the time. The times have changed, and sometimes high school movies don't live up to the standards that we set for ourselves today, or for film in general. So I don't love it as much as I used to, but I always really loved it, and it was a movie that I loved in high school. However, it was also what year was this? 2000? Was this one 2000 or was it 99?
2000.
Yeah, 2000. So I also had to pretend like I had to pretend like I didn't love this movie because I was a boy, and that was gay.
Yeah.
They didn't know, or maybe they did know, that I would grow up to be a queer man. But that's I get they may have known that. Oh my god, I'm realizing all the things they called me. They knew.
Oh my god, they clocked your ass, Matt.
But no, it was a movie that I really loved back then. You said that this was a first time watch for you?
Yeah, essentially, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Matt, I love this one.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I love this one. I guess I just found perhaps I found this one the most relatable because like I just know what it's like to be a teenage girl and care about something like so intensely, especially in high school. Like everything feels like the end of the world, and you just like want to be like the best at something, and like being like captain of like the cheerleading squad, if like that was the route my life took at one point, like I could so see myself being like, oh, like this is the most important thing to me ever. And like I just love the character of Torrance Shipman. I think like literally my first note is Torrance Shipman is spunky and cool and a badass. Like I just think like they made it so easy to care about her, and they like you just feel how important this is to her. And like you can write this off as like a dumb like cheerleading movie, whatever, but because of like uh Kirsten Dunst. Is that her?
Kirsten.
Kirsten. I
She
knew I
recent
was wrong.
and the only reason I say that is because she recently said no one ever pronounces my name right. It's Kirsten.
Kirsten.
It's so yeah.
Kirsten. Kirsten Dunst does such a good job at like the stakes just feel so real to her, and you can really feel how like important it all is to her. So it's really easy to root for her and
Mhm.
to like root for the given circumstances. And I just think like obviously there are some like really outdated moments, but there's really some like really hilarious lines of dialogue that really had me giggling. Like one of the
Mhm.
things I wrote was it was the name drop of the movie, but it was between two football players, and he said, "Bring it on, butt plug." I'm like, I'm gonna use that one. That's good.
Yeah. Oh god. Hold on.
Oh no. Another line that I liked, which is like only a line you'd hear in like the early 2000s, is when they're asking like the rich girl on the squad for money. And she's like,
Mhm.
"What? Do I have the letters ATM tattooed on my forehead?"
Yeah.
And they're like, "No, more like DADDY." And I'm like, that's funny. Um Another line you'd only hear in a early 2000s movie, "You're having cheer sex with him."
um yeah. That it's funny because you mentioned that that I realized on this rewatch, because this is one that I've seen a lot of times also, that I kind of realized on this rewatch, and that I think it's because I recently rewatched the other movie that I'm about to reference, and that is how much Pitch Perfect owes to this movie.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, uh,
Totally.
and it's similar to the thing with the I'm Just Ken with Barb and Star, is that so many beats from this movie are present in Pitch Perfect, and it's yeah, I realized that while I was watching it this time, because a lot of that, like especially like the jargon and stuff like that, this is a cheertatorship, that kind of stuff, or there's a cheerocracy, not cheer, and she said you're treating like cheertatorship. That's the kind of stuff they say in Pitch Perfect as well.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, go ahead. You're
Oh,
about
I
to say
was just
something.
gonna say, like, I made the connection where she's like, "You're having like Aka like something." They're like,
Yeah,
you're like Aka fucking him or something, they say in like Pitch
yeah,
Perfect.
yes, exactly.
Another thing, okay, two of the final two things that I really enjoyed about this movie was really quick, the costumes I really liked.
Hmm.
And then the last thing I really liked was that Missy's character, the girl who joins the cheerleading squad, has her own little character development where she starts off like, "This is dumb, I'm not doing this," to like really like embracing it and becoming like a really good friend to Torrance. They almost
Hmm.
have their own little like enemies to friends
Hmm.
relationship in this movie, which I just think also adds to the girl power aspect of it.
You actually just reminded me of some things that I did want to talk about with it, which is number one. Yes, I really like that character. That's one thing that when I first saw it, that really drew me to it, was their relationship. I also like her relationship with Jesse Bradford's character, and all that. But Elijah Dushku, who plays the new girl, what was her name? Did you say her name?
Missy.
Missy. Um, is from Buffy, and she calls all of the cheerleaders Buffies at one point, and that
Oh
made me
my god.
happy. um, and but also, I just need to say about the cheer stealing thing. Number one, it's a very early uh, commentary on cultural appropriation. We wouldn't get into that for like 15 more years past this in our culture. So this is a very early cultural appropriation discussion. But also, I just have to say, and I've thought this for 25 years now. Burr, it's cold in here. There must be some whichever thing in the atmosphere is a bad cheer, and no one should be fighting over that cheer because it's not good, and it doesn't make meteorological sense. Neither of those things would affect the weather in the area. So that's just how I feel about it. But
Totally.
regardless, I do like that. I like they were they were stealing. Now they have to come up with their own thing, overcome this obstacle. I love that they don't win in the end. Also, the main people, I love.
Yes. Yes, I also love that choice too. I was like, I think the Clovers are gonna win, and like honestly, like I'm happy for them.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
at some point you also start rooting for them, and then you're kind of
Yeah.
like conflicted, like, oh, like obviously like you want Torrance to like do well and everything, but like the way they like accept like second place at the end and they're just like, you know what, second place, like that rocks too. And you're just like, see, character development, like
Yeah.
love it.
You want them to overcome this obstacle, which they do. And so when they lose, it's they still did their best and everything was good. And the people who were wronged in this situation uh, got their comeuppance. Basically, they got what they deserved, which was to win in the end. And I love that. It's generally with this type of story, you would see the fact that or them overcoming by winning. The main characters to overcome by having to overcome this adversity to the point where they win. But in this case, the fact that they excelled like they got second place was the win for them, and I really love that. Um, I do wish that we had spent more time with the Clovers, though. I feel like uh, we spent a little bit too much time with the other team where we could have cut back to the Clovers because that scene where they're like sitting in the sitting in the gymnasium and writing a letter to the talk show host, trying to get sponsored by a thing. That was a great scene, and it really showed them for something other than just the antagonist, because really all we saw was them uh, kind of clapping back at the white girls, and so
Yeah.
it was it was it was nice when we got to go cut back to them. So I think that we probably should have had a little bit more of them, but yeah, it's a movie that I really very much enjoy. Otherwise,
No, yeah, I agree.
all right. So let us move on to our next movie, Joyride. And I can't remember. Did you say you had seen this one or hadn't seen it?
I had, because it
Oh
has
yeah, that's right. That's
four
right.
stars on
4
Letterboxd
stars
from
on
me.
Letterboxd. We did that. Yeah, I had seen it as well, and I saw it after a bunch of my friends had seen it and they raved about it. And so when I saw it, I really enjoyed it as well. It didn't quite live up to the hype, but I rarely let hype get in the way of how I feel about a movie. I will
Mhm.
say on rewatch, I it actually improved for me a lot. I think because I was separated from the hype a little bit. Rewatching it, I actually enjoyed it a little bit more than I did the first time. How did you feel about it this time on rewatch?
I was really excited to get back into this one. I watched them in chronological order. So
Mhm.
I started with Romy and Michele and then ended with this one. So I was just like kicking my little feet, like, ooh, and then I get to save Joyride until the end. Like, I was just really excited. And I remember like I remember laughing obviously a ton in the theater when I saw it. And I just think like some of like the shock value comedy moments that happened in this movie obviously like didn't take me by surprise the second time around, but then like all like the little like quips, and especially all like the little bits that come from Deadeye's character
Mhm.
is really what like I picked up on this time
Me
in
too.
this rewatch.
Mhm.
And then also like I was just reminded of like how much like heart is in this uh film, and how much like real shit that these girls like go through, especially Ashley Park's character, Audrey.
Mhm.
I want to say Audrey with a D.
Yeah, it's Audrey.
So that's what I was reminded of this rewatch. This is another one where I like love the costumes. I loved how like colorful everything was, and that they kind of were like this enhanced version of what it's like to dress in like the 2020s, because it just like looked really cool on screen.
Mhm.
And also Sherry Cola, who plays Lolo,
Mhm.
very funny woman.
That is the exact thing I was about to mention, was that why isn't Sherry Cola a household name right now? She was so funny. She deserved the Aquafina treatment. Also,
Mhm.
why are so many Chinese comedian actresses named after soda or drinks? That's what
I
I
like
want to know.
I wanna know her actual real name, like, right now, because do you think it's Sherry Cola?
I looked it up. Sherry is the Americanized name her parents gave her. It did not mention if Cola was her given name, but I know
Got it.
Sherry is the Americanized name her parents gave her.
Okay. Well, maybe she was trying to do a twist on Aquafina, like, "Oh,
Maybe.
like, Aquafina has her thing, I'm gonna be Sherry Cola, fuck it."
Yeah. But she's so funny and effortlessly funny. That's the
Yes.
thing. Like, Aquafina's funny, but you can tell she's doing a bit.
Uh-huh.
Sherry Cola was effortlessly funny. Like she reminded me most of you, which is that I feel like when I'm talking to you, I never feel like the jokes you're doing are a bit. I feel like you're just a funny person. And that's how I felt about Sherry Cola. I was going to ask you with each one of these which characters you felt was most like you, and I didn't. And we're on the fourth one, and I didn't do it with any of them. But
We
I'll
can
just
we
tell
can
you.
circle back, I love that question.
Uh,
Um Oh my god, what a good compliment, because I think she's so funny and such a good actor, and I think the reason why that is because I feel like, not to directly compare her to Aquafina, but I feel like Awkwafina is more of a comedian than she is an actor, where I feel like Sherry might be like an actor first and then comedian second.
mhm,
Just because like this character also just feels like someone you know.
mhm,
Like, hello, starving artist working a serving job. Like, yeah, I fucking relate to you, Sherry. And, like having that dynamic between like having a friend who's like this super successful, like, 9 to 5 girly, and then that contrast of like just like being the friend who like wants to have a good time, like have fun, and then your friend kind of like being like, well, no, like at some point, like we have to grow up, and
mhm,
you're like, but like why though? Because like
mhm.
you told me to.
Right. Yeah, she does feel like someone I know, and I already mentioned that. It's you. Uh, uh,
You're
but
right. You're right.
uh, yeah, she's so effortlessly funny, and it's the kind of comedy that can get overlooked and not recognized for just how important it is and how hilarious it is and how much weight it holds in this film. And that's one of the things I love about this movie and about her. Um, Another thing I really love about this movie is the sex positivity, and not just positivity, but we've gone through decades of male centric sex comedies
Hmm.
uh, that are uh, that are doing a lot of the same things that these movies are doing without anybody batting an eye. But when it comes to this, I've seen reviews just like, why'd they have to resort to so much sex and stuff like that. It's just like, come on, nobody says that about American Pie or any of the male sex comedies that we get. I love that it is just as ridiculous as those type of things, and that it doesn't shy away from it. It does talk about, it does reference the purity thing, like the fact that women are seen differently when it comes to sex, but it doesn't dwell on that at all. It's just she has too much coke and she's and she's horny and it just lets that play out, which I love. And that scene when all of the different sex things result in a bunch of male injuries, that just made me laugh a lot, really hard.
Yeah.
And the repressed one has the devil's three-way. I love that as well.
Yeah.
How did you feel about that aspect of the movie?
I remember watching that the first time and being like, this is iconic. Like, this is just truly iconic. Because I feel like you also when threesomes like get portrayed in movies, like it's never with two men. It's always with two women. And I'm like, this is amazing. And then I also love how you expect that I believe her name is pronounced Stephanie Shu. Stephanie Shu, first of all, has some really funny moments in this film. Yes, she has some good quotes that I wrote down. And you expect that she's gonna do the cheating thing, but she doesn't. She and I was just like, I'm happy that she doesn't cheat. And then because you also expect that okay, well, she's probably going to break up with this guy anyway because their relationship is kind of built off of a lie. And I thought that it was going in a message in that direction. But then they end up getting back together at the end because they both decide to start being honest with each other, which is great. One of the things that I wrote down was because oh my God, it was so funny. It was funny the first time and it was funny this time. She's trying to make sure she has all the drugs removed from her anal cavity. Right. And so she yells, "It's not a puppet, it's my asshole." And I'm like, that's hilarious. That's such a funny line.
Yeah. That whole bit was because I love how that comes back and the callback to that, which is it was 8. It, just out of nowhere, she's like, it was 8. It was 8 bags.
It was 8. It just popped. I feel it.
Oh, that was so funny. But yeah, just that I love Stephanie Shu. She should be an Oscar winner. She should have won over Jamie Lee Curtis for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Sadly, she didn't, but it's whatever. I think she's hilarious. I think all of these women are hilarious. I think I agree with you. Deadeye was the one that maybe didn't connect with me as much the first time as it did this time. Deadeye was very funny, and I think I wasn't sure the first time kind of how to approach them or how to take them in Deadeye, and it ended up being when I watch it this time, I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. I get what's happening. It's very, very funny, and I don't remember. Here's one thing I noticed this time, and I don't remember if they call Deadeye with they them pronouns the whole movie, but I know at the end they start.
No, see, that's the beauty of it, is that in the beginning they start calling her a woman, using she, her, and then it's very subtle. This is something that I caught on. Well, the first time I had noticed, right in that epilogue scene that they have at the end, where it's 1 year later, then they start saying they, them. And their look has kind of changed, and you can just tell they're settling more into their gender expression. And I just loved that little it didn't become like a thing. It didn't become like a lesson or like a finger wag moment or anything like that. I love that it was just like, yeah, this like happens in life and
Yeah,
whatever.
it wasn't a reveal, which I love.
Yes.
It was what it absolutely should be, which is they them say no more.
Right.
Yeah, like
Easy.
yeah. I love that.
And I was honestly trying to look up the lyrics right now because in the whole WAP um cover that they do as the Korean K-pop group that they're posing as to get on the plane to Korea, I think there's a line where they rap like "Don't call me she" or something like that. I'm trying to get the lyrics to confirm, but that was another thing that I like picked up on during this watch. And I was like, oh, the signs were there. Also, since we're talking about Deadeye, I just loved how, you know, they meet Kat on the set of the TV show that she films in China, and she's like, "Oh, this is my fiance," and he's like taking off um his costume, and they're all like, uh fucking him, I guess is the only way to finish that sentence. And then so they're cutting to all their facial expressions, and then when they get to Deadeye, they're just like huge yawn, like, okay, like next, I've seen enough. And I'm just like, it's like moments like that where you're just like, okay, I know now everything I need to know about this character. And that's just like a really clever and creative way to let the audience know what they're dealing with. I think, to agree with you, Matt, I think that Deadeye becomes a character that you don't really connect with the first time around is because they're kind of the character that's like the most out there. Like, you kind of know like these little weirdos in life and you accept them, but I feel like Deadeye's missing that hint of relatability where, like, you know, the conflict that Lolo and Audrey are going through, like, with this whole friendship and figuring out who they are. And like, I guess there's not a super relatability with Kat other than the fact that she's going through this thing like in her relationship, and you can kind of like relate to, like, you know, feeling like feeling like being vulnerable with a partner is like a tough thing to do. Where it's like Deadeye is like, they almost feel like they're there, strangely, in this huge comedy that's full of comedic moments, to be the comedic relief in the midst of all of this.
Right.
And so they're kind of just like almost there as like a joke for the first watch, and then you kind of see the value in them, you know, during the second watch. And I think that that was a moment that stuck out to me, and this time around was that conversation that they have with Audrey at Lolo's grandma's house in China, where they're kind of just getting to they connect on a certain level because they both realize that they've both felt like outsiders at some point. And Aubrey's like, well, Audrey is like, well, I've also felt like I don't know where I belong. And Deadeye's like, well, I don't have any real friends. And they're like, well, I can relate to you, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I completely agree. That is a very apt analysis of that. Most of my best friends right now are online internet people. And now, so that I think I do. You're one of them. So I do relate to Deadeye a lot that way as well, and I think that might have been part of that also. I want to mention that earlier I had mentioned that Annie Mumolo was who played Barb in Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar. I mentioned that she was in at least one other movie. I just looked it up, and she is in 3 of the movies that we cover today. She's Barb in Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar. She is Nervous Woman on Plane in Bridesmaids, and she plays Audrey's mom in this movie.
Oh, she is Nervous Woman on Plane. Yes.
Yes.
Oh my God, that is so funny.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's unfortunately she didn't start acting until 2003, so she missed the first 2. So she couldn't be in that. But
makes sense.
But yes, she's in 3 of these movies. Well, this conversation about Joyride has been very good, and it's actually changed my ranking on it on my ranking list because I think that we have it's moved it up a little bit.
Oh, wow. I'm
Just
glad.
from this conversation, yeah.
I will sell this movie to anyone that I can. I really, really love this movie.
I do too. It's very, very good. And listen, my ranking of it wasn't bad. It based on our conversations it was like, well, I think that we have touched on why I think this is a little bit higher. So but we're gonna unless do you have anything else to add about Joyride before we move on?
Um, I think that one of 3 quick things.
Okay, let's hear it.
Well, okay, what I love about this movie is the pacing. It's around an hour and 30 minutes long, and I think that works in its favor. It moves very fast, and I think that's part of the reason why it keeps, it's very entertaining and a good comedy. I love this is some of like the dialogue, like quippy, smart humor that I've been referring to throughout the whole movie. I think that Sherry Cola has a lot of those lines where they're just like very quick and like almost like blink and you'll miss it, because she has this one where they're talking about how Kat's a virgin and she's saving herself for marriage, and that her love is like not physical but spiritual. And she has this great line where she says, was it a spiritual connection when the Jonas Brothers were Eiffel Towering you? Which is hilarious. And then the last
I love just real quick on
no,
that
go
one.
ahead.
I love that the boyfriend's response is, "All right, I love Paris."
Right. Right.
Like he doesn't get it. He doesn't know what she's talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah. Anyway, go.
exactly. And I love that in typical, like, almost like rom-com-y fashion, there's this huge, like, declaration at the end, this huge romantic gesture. Audrey gets on the mic. She's professing, like, all the things that she's done wrong and how she's been a terrible friend to Lolo. And it reminded me so much of, like, that airport chase scene or that holding a boombox over your head. And it's this huge romantic gesture, but it's just this mending of, like, a female friendship. And it just, like, warmed my little feminist heart.
Adorable. Yeah, I really like that too. That made me very happy. Okay, then let's move on from there to our next movie, which is the last one we're going to cover. Romy and Michelle's high school reunion. This was a first time watch for you.
Yes, it was.
All right, so this is one that I was also in high school when this one came out. So it was or high school or just about to go in high school. I don't remember which. What year was it?
97.
97. So I was not yet in high school, but I was in junior high. But I did watch it when it came out, and it's one that I absolutely loved when it came out, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to cover it. There are things about it that have not aged well for me, but overall, it's one that I still love. On your first time watch, how did you feel about this movie?
Well, one of my first notes, Matt, is this movie feels like AI. Which I know can't be possible because it's from the year 1997. Um, I don't remember what exact moment like made me feel that way. Oh, I know actually what exact moment made me feel that way. It's like the first like they're getting ready to like go out, they're going like dancing, they're going to this club. And it's just like crazy that the way that they like talk to one another. And Romy has this crazy thick Philly accent and nobody else does. In fact, their high school is like what? Like somewhere else in California? Like
It's in Tucson, Arizona.
Tucson, Arizona. Okay, so they go from LA to Arizona. So I'm like, where the fuck did this Philadelphia like home alone accent come from? Like, I just feel like maybe they should have told her, ease up with that. And like maybe it was part of the humor, but then I feel like maybe if the whole thing is that she moves to LA and now has this like huge like LA lifestyle she's trying to like pawn off to people, maybe she goes like Valley Girl, and like
Yeah.
maybe that's the joke. It just like didn't Like, I just, like, almost it was, like, kinda distracting. That's the only
Oh,
reason
okay.
why I bring it up. I was like, "Oh my god, her accent is so thick." Um,
I always think of it as a dumb person's attempt at a Valley Girl accent.
okay.
Because
Interesting.
she's dumb, like, that's
Yeah.
kind of the thing. But I always thought about it like that she was trying to emulate, because she has the same thing in high school, but that it's kind of the that's kind of the what she's trying to show the world is that she's that kind of a person. So I always thought of it just as a dumb person's attempt at doing a Valley Girl accent. So that's kind of where I go, but I can see that, especially if you're from the East Coast, like, so you probably hear that accent more than I do.
Yeah, yeah, I do. I'm especially because I went to school down in South Jersey, and, like,
Mm,
South Jersey is influenced see, everyone thinks that Jersey has one accent, and it's the accent that's used in, like, My Cousin Vinny, but in reality, South Jersey is influenced by the Philly accent, so
mm,
it's, like, all that, like, "Ooh," like, and this John, which is, like, a Philly thing, and slang. And then North Jersey, where Dill and I are from, is influenced by the New York accent, which is where what you hear in like My Cousin Vinny and shit like that.
mhm.
So it was just like very jarring to hear in this movie. Um, and I think like the way that like the whole like opening sequence where you're kind of just like getting to know these two girls and they're like going out to the club and they're like it's just like it feels like I think the reason why I wrote um this feels like it was this feels like AI was because they were like, let's go to the bar and get some drinks. Let's go dancing and like pick up some guys. And I'm just like, I was like, oh my God, like, yeah, like that's like the vibe at the club. But it was almost like they were two like Sims, like just speaking, like it just felt like very disconnected and like very unrealistic to be like, and then they're like on the dance floor for like 2 seconds, and Romy's like, there's like not even like any hot guys here. And it's just like, I was like, oh my God, like this is like really abrasive at but in the first like 10 minutes of this movie. I feel like I'm getting like attacked.
I understand, and for me, that's part of the comedy, because the idea, at least from my perspective, is that these two exist in their own world. And it's a world that none of the rest of us exist in. So the way that they talk, the things that they talk about, the way that they dress, all of that is meant to feel otherworldly.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of so that it works for me. But I understand. I was wondering about this one because all of that didn't seem so weird in the 90s, but as I'm watching it from today, I'm like, this probably seems like an alien made this movie.
No, it literally feels like they're acting like two aliens that arrived at Earth for the first time and they're just like watching, they've been observing for like up to like a month long and they're like, "Okay, this is what 20 somethings do in LA. Let's go to
Mhm.
the bar, let's get some drinks, let's get some guys." And like it just felt very like jarring and like almost like unsettling to like hear just such like unrealistic dialogue, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I can definitely understand that. Um, for me, in this movie, number one, uh, as someone who passed my 20-year anniversary from being from graduating high school 2 years ago, uh, seeing these people go to their 10th anniversary or their 10th year reunion, uh, I'm like, oh God, I feel so old right now. I don't think I've watched it. I haven't watched it in a long time, and I used to watch it
Yeah.
all the time back in the day, but I haven't watched it in a long time. So watching it, I'm like, but these people are older than me, which they are obviously now, but not in this movie.
Yeah, yeah.
It's one of those weird things where you're just like, wait, am I the adult now? Uh, it's one of those.
Yeah,
It's weird
yeah.
as you get older. That's kind of the feeling, especially if, like me, you have an arrested development in terms of your childlike wonder. Um, anyway, so that's part of it. Number two, I think Lisa Kudrow is hilarious just in general. She's so funny. I think she's the second funniest person on Friends after Matthew Perry. And I just think she's so funny, and she's very funny in this movie. Mira Sorvino doesn't really do it for me quite as much. But Lisa Kudrow is really where the comedy lands for me, because I just think she's so funny.
Yeah. And I also think that it's easier to like connect with Michele and to almost root for her a little bit more just because she is like clearly like a little more dim-witted in the pair. And so
Mhm.
there's kind of like this like child likeness to her where she just likes like being being Romy's friend, and like that's enough for her, and she doesn't feel like she doesn't come up with this grand scheme of like let's lie and like say that our lives are like totally different. Like she kind of just goes along with it because it's really important to her friend. And she like, I don't know, you can just tell like there's almost like a little bit more heart when it comes to the character of Michele. So I felt like I rooted for her a little bit more and connected with her a little bit more. Obviously like Romy has to like figure, like she has to learn her lesson. Like she, goes through whatever she goes through and realizes that she's kind of been like a bad friend. But like it's what's rewarding in this movie is to hear Michele's speech about like who cares like that our lives aren't like anything like them, and like who cares like what any of these people like think of us, like we like still have like a good time together like every day. How they're living in LA off of like a receptionist and an unemployment like situation, I'm not sure. Like that feels a little unrealistic to me. I'm like, Michele, get a job. But then it all works out in the end because they start, they come up with their clothing business together. And I think this was another one where I was like, I am really enjoying the costumes in this movie for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. That was all. I agree with you in terms of Michelle's character. I think that um, she is the easiest one to relate to. I love that one of her most common phrases in this movie is "Me too," uh,
Yeah, yeah.
and that kind of shows the dynamic between them too. And you hit on it right there when I was saying like this is what a dumb person's idea of a Valley Girl accent sounds like. It's because Romy is trying to be someone that she wants to be always,
Yeah.
and that's clear throughout the whole movie. And Michele is just along for the ride. She is there to be Romy. She is where she wants to be, which is Romy's friend.
Yeah,
And
yeah, and that's kind of beautiful. That's,
yeah,
like, so sweet in a way.
yeah, which I love that. Um, for nearly 30 years now, I have every time I've heard the song time after time, I've thought of the dance at this movie. Every time since 1997. I have not heard that song without thinking of the two of them dancing with Alan Cumming at the end of this movie, which I it's just an iconic moment for me personally, as someone who kind of grew up with this movie. Do you like their dance at the end?
You know what? My note for that was, um, the camp the camp dance at the end. Like, you know what? Hell yeah. That's
Hmm.
that's what I wrote. Because I think that this one is definitely like very campy. I think like
Hmm.
the campiest ones for me are Barb and Star go to Vista Del Mar and this one.
Hmm. I
And
agree.
because I think that they're like between like the whole dream sequence that Michele has, which I think went on just a little too long, but because at some point I'm like, this has to be a dream. Like this is not actually what's going down at their high school reunion right now. Um, and then that moment and the dream moment. And I think there's like another one as well where I'm just like, the camp dial is turned all the way up.
Hmm.
Also, seeing Meredith from Parent Trap, the Parent Trap, do you know who I'm talking about? She was one of the friends.
Yes,
She's
the
the only friend that kind of has a character development moment
yeah,
and
the
is like, I'm going to stop being
fashion
mean to these people because I'm
vogue
not
one,
in
yeah.
high school anymore.
Hmm.
Love that moment. Um, but the dance, I was just like, I loved how it was like an entirely choreographed routine. And again, like, I love how Michele was like, yeah, we can dance together, but only if Romy can come too. And he's like, of course. And also Alan Cunning, like, that's his name, right? Cumming. Sorry.
Coming, yeah.
M's. Alan Cumming, the creator of Traitors. I was like, oh my God, like, that's him. And like, yeah, he is the hot nerd. Like, I believe that he would be the hot nerd in some other universe.
Yeah.
So good for him.
I love when Janine Garofalo's character is like, wait, that's whatever his name was.
Sandy
Frink. Yeah, that's Sandy Frink. What was I thinking?
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. And then she meets up with the cowboy. I love that whole thing. I don't know. This is a movie that I have a lot of nostalgia for. It's but I understand that it probably doesn't work as well today as it used to. But it's one that I've always really loved. Do you have anything else about this before we move on?
I will say that Heather, who you just said, Janine
Garofalo?
Janine. Yes, I think she was the funniest one because the first line that I laughed at was when she is like at the car place, at the valet place trying to get her car, and she's talking to Romy for the first time, and Romy's like, "Oh, are you going to our high school reunion?" And she's like, she's smoking a cigarette, and she's like, "I'd rather put this out in my ass." And I'm like, that's funny. I think that she was the funniest one, and I loved every time she looked at the girl Toby and said, "Fuck off, Toby."
Fuck off, Toby. Yeah, I love that as well. She is funny. I love Janine Garofalo. That's another '90s icon for me that people don't know as well today. But she, I agree with that part. Like, that's a funny movie. I always think about the trailer though, because I remember when the trailer for this movie came out, they couldn't say ass in the trailer, so she said, "I would rather put this out in my eye." And so I always think that that's the line. And every time I watch this movie and it's ass, I'm like, oh yeah, it's not.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
But yes, that's funny. She's very funny. I really like that character. Anything else that you want to add before we move on?
No, I'm good.
Okay, so I'd like to go back real quick before we move on to our rankings, and follow up with what we had talked about a little bit ago, which is which of these characters which character from each movie do you feel like you identify with the most, or feels the most like you? So let's start with Barb and Star.
Which character feels the most like me?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, honestly, I want to say the villain.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Well, just because, like, I don't know, like, I thought she was spunky, and she definitely keeps her eye on the prize.
Mm-hmm.
Her, Yo-Yo, the little boy.
Yo-Yo. Okay. Bridesmaids. Who do you identify with most there?
That's, like, a really good question. Like, I feel like the easiest answer is to go with, Annie.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like, she's, like, a little lost. I also love that, like, Rebel Wilson was, like, randomly in Bridesmaids. Like, that's hilarious.
I mean, that was, like, one of her first, like, American roles, too. Like, she wasn't really a thing yet.
No, I know who I connect with most in Bridesmaids. It's Melissa McCarthy's character, Megan.
Yeah. That must be why we get along so much, because that's definitely, like, my sister and my mom. That's their whole thing. That they definitely identify with her most. This is actually, while I was watching this movie, I was like, Annie, which is Kristen Wiig, right? That's her character.
Yeah.
It's like, Annie reminds me so much of Kelsey, and I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm in love with how funny Kristen Wiig is, and that maybe that's the thing, but I just that was part of it. Bring It On. Who do you identify with most in Bring It On?
I think, like, it has to be Torrance because especially, like, high school me, like, if you just, like, replace cheerleading with, like, getting the lead in the musical, like, I would have been as insane as Torrance and,
Nice,
like, been willing to, like, do anything the
nice.
way Torrance is in that movie.
All right, Joyride. I've already said who I think you're most like in that.
I mean, it's Lolo.
It is
It's
Lolo.
Lolo.
It's Lolo for sure. And then Romy and Michelle's high school reunion.
I think Heather. I think I would say that I would be the Heather in this situation who's like, no, like, fuck all these people from high school, but then like ends up showing up just to be like, okay, well, let's see what my high school crush actually looks like. And then going, no, I'm good.
Mhm.
But also the other thing that I loved about like Romy and Michele is that like I next year is going to be the 10th year of me being out of high school. And I have no idea if a reunion's gonna happen. Who knows? But I just like made me feel so seen to be like, wow, these two like women who are around like my age right now are both like kind of these like lost souls a little bit. And I think that's okay. And I'm like, I just felt like a little validated for my situation, you know?
Yeah, I definitely could see that.
Mhm.
Okay, then let's get into the ranking of these movies. We're gonna start with number 5. What is your number 5 movie?
Okay. My number 5 movie is Bridesmaids.
Wow, that's a shock to me.
Yeah, I was shocked too. Like I said, Matt, I really thought I was gonna go in like being like, "Oh my god, this is amazing, so funny," and it just didn't do it for me.
All right, there it is. My number 5 is Romy and Michelle's high school reunion. What is your number 4?
My number 4 is Romy and Michelle's high school reunion.
Okay. All right. My number 4 is, and this was hard because this is the closest that any set of 5 have been on this show for me. Like usually there's a clear 1 and a clear 5, and the ranking is pretty easy for me. It was hard for me to rank these because I didn't want to put things low, but I do have Bring It On at number 4, which is unfortunate, but it's where it is.
Okay.
What is your number 3?
Barb and Star go to Vista Del Mar.
Okay. And my number 3 is Bridesmaids.
Okay.
What is your number 2?
Bring It On.
Okay. And my number 2 is Joyride, which used to be number 3, but I moved it up. Bridesmaids was number 2, and I moved up Joyride to number 2.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Love.
And that means that your number 1 is Joyride.
It is.
And my number 1 is Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar, which surprised the hell out of me. I did not go in this thinking that that was going to be the way it was, but it is. Which means that our top 2 movies, based on our uh, uh, combined ranking, are Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar and Joyride. All right.
So now what, we like fight to the death?
We don't fight to the death. We score them.
Oh, okay, that works too.
Now we're going to go through and rate these. We're going to go. This is called our deep dive section, but we've talked about them a lot. So we're probably just going to be rating them and talking about why we rated them the way we did, or scored them the way we did. We're going to start with Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar. And let's talk about the camp in this movie. As you alluded to earlier, the camp in this was very, very high. And I agree that this and Romy and Michele were the two campiest. I think this was the campiest, which is probably just why I enjoyed it so much. I ended up giving Camp a 9 out of 10. Just because not only is it very campy, but I thought the camp was used very, very effectively. What was your score about on with camp? And go ahead and talk about it. Anything that you want to talk about
I gave Camp a 9 out of 10.
there. Nice, nice. Okay, now we get to acting. Acting was I thought fine for the most part. I think the two leads were very good. I thought they were very, very good.
Mm-hmm.
Jamie Dornan does nothing for me, as I mentioned before. So he's, and I'm sure he does a lot for a lot of people. Especially
Sure.
he's very handsome. I agree with everybody who's upset with me because he's handsome. He is very handsome. But he just didn't really move the needle much for me in this movie. But those two leads are incredible, especially Kristen Wiig, who had the dual roles in that. So I gave acting an 8.
I gave acting a 6.7 out of 10.
6.7. Look at you. Do you
Yeah, I
care
took
to
it.
elaborate on that, or?
You said I could use decimals, and I
Yeah, you
really
can.
took
Yes,
advantage.
for sure.
Um, I just think I don't know. I just feel like I don't want to be mean, but
Go. Yeah.
I just feel like Kristen Wiig offers a very similar set of skills every time you watch one of her movies. She's probably gonna make a silly face and do a silly voice, and she kind of offers a very similar beats in all of her stuff. So it's like you've seen one Kristen Wiig movie, you've probably seen them all. I actually think that her acting was better in Bridesmaids, just because I think that that character was a little bit more grounded and went through some more stuff. And so you kind of saw more of a range with her there. Whereas this one, it's very shticky, and there's not a ton of dynamics that happen between how these characters react, because even when they're mad at each other, it's very brief and they get over it pretty quickly, and then they're back to being their kooky selves. So I just think that there wasn't a ton of dynamics when it came to the acting in this one, which is why it's above average, because it wasn't bad, and it's just barely a 7 for me.
I gotcha. I agree with you. I think her acting is better in Bridesmaids. But this is a different kind of acting. This is camp. She's being campier in this movie. So I
Totally.
think that it just, her comedic timing is very good for me. I'm in love with Kristen Wiig, so it's I'm gonna probably be a bigger defender here than most people. But I think that I enjoy her acting and her comedic timing, which is why I gave it a higher number. But that's fine.
Gotcha.
I would like for you to start on girl power. Tell me how you felt about the girl power in this movie.
Because like I said, sorry, I'm burping. Because this movie is very the main two characters in this movie are two women, and it's all about their friendship and how they're kind of just able to make a bad, just see the good out of every situation and make uh take the best out of everything. I gave girl power an 8 out of 10.
Mhm.
Just because it's there's really nothing else besides the brief conflict with Jamie Dorman's character. There's really nothing else to um focus on in this
Mhm.
movie except their friendship, and then the conflict that they have with this villain who's also a female who went through something traumatic, and then they're saved by Trish at the end. So it's it all comes together for me.
My score is for similar reasons, but I did dock it just a little bit. Number one, because this was directed by a dude. And number
Okay.
two, because I think that unlike some of the other movies in this, that it kind of took shots at older women a little bit more than maybe it could have, because it was kind of it was kind of lampooning this type of a woman. So I thought that it took shots at women more than lifted them up on occasion. Most of the time, I felt like it was lifting them up, but on occasion, it just felt like maybe it took shots at old women. So I gave it a 7.5
Okay.
out of 10. Just because for that, just docked down just a little bit because maybe it could have been a little bit more thoughtful in how it depicted things. All right, and in terms of overall quality, we love this movie, so I gave it an 8. What was your score for overall quality?
Wait, I thought the overall was combining the 3 previous categories.
No, it's overall quality. How you felt about the overall quality? Because
Okay.
yeah.
Well, the overall quality for me, and it's probably just because I don't jive that much with this style of comedy, is probably a 6.5.
Okay. 6.5. Okay. So that means that for camp we gave it a 9 because our combined total is 9 because that's that we both gave it a 9. Acting is a 7.35 combined. Girl power is a 7.75 combined, and the overall quality is 7.25, bringing the combined average to 7.84. Which brings us to Joyride. And honestly, when we went into this, I expected this to not crack our top 2. And so I'm happy that it is now,
Okay.
because it's because I really enjoyed this movie a lot. In terms of camp, it's not quite as campy as Barb and Star, but it does have a little bit of that because of it has a bit more than your average comedy, just because of the kind of over the top nature of the of some of the hijinks that they get into. So I gave it a 7.5 on camp.
I gave it a 6.9 on the camp scale.
6.9. Nice. For acting, I gave it an 8. I thought these women were all very funny, and they all did exceptional jobs.
I gave the acting an 8.9.
Nice. That's hey, I don't blame you at all. I might have given it a little bit higher if I had put a little bit more thought into it. For girl power, I'm gonna start here because as the man, no,
Totally.
just
No, if there's one thing Matt, as a man, is girl power.
right, exactly. No, I gave this one. Okay, so to explain my score here, it got an automatic bump because it was the only one of these 5 that was directed by a woman. And so it got a little bit of a bump there, but also the sex positivity, the way it depicted these women as their bodily autonomy and their it gave them agency. I really love that. So I gave it a 9, but I could have gone higher. What did you give it?
I gave it a 9.7 for girl
Nice.
power.
Okay.
I think that, I just think that not only does it have all like the sex positive stuff, but I also think that like these characters are just really multifaceted, and I love how there's some really ridiculous like high highs in this movie, and then there are some really like deep lows. Like we didn't even bring up in our discussion like the whole journey that Audrey goes through with like the journey of figuring out who her birth mother is, and then figuring out that her heritage is the one that she was raised believing it wasn't even the one that she actually is. She ends up being Korean, which I did think I had seen this movie before, and I was watching it. I was like, is Ashley Park Chinese? I was like, I don't believe Ashley Park to be Chinese. And then that's the whole twist, is that she ends up being Korean.
Yeah.
And I just think like that's a beautiful story. And she listens to this heartfelt message from her birth mother. And then, and I just think like the degrees of womanhood that it it shows and showcases because of Deadeye's like gender expression journey in this movie as well. Like there's like, you know, so many, there's like a spectrum of womanhood and multitudes in this movie. So it's just through the roof for me.
I'm gonna raise mine because everything you said was so good. I'm gonna raise mine to a 9.5. There it is. All right, so that brings us to overall quality. Generally, with overall quality, what I do is I just double my star rating on Letterboxd. So I gave it a 4 out of 5. So I gave it an 8 out of 10. It's the same score as Barb and Star. So that's pretty even. What was your score on quality?
I think my overall score on quality has to be like a 9 out of 10.
Excellent. All right, so that means that with Camp at a 7.2, acting at an 8.45, girl power at a 9.6, and overall quality at an 8.5, combined total is 8.44. By a large margin, Joyride wins the Camp Trophy for She-Nanigans. And that means that all of you watching at home right now have earned your She-Nanigans badge. So exciting. All right, which brings us to next month. Next month, we are going to be talking about fantasy movies. It's for I believe we're just calling it the fantasy badge, campy fantasy movies. However, the movies that are still being chosen. They're still being selected. I did not have them in time for this, and I apologize. I will either put out a community note with what they are, or if I know before I finish editing this, they will be on there right now. And if they're not there, then I'm just pointing at the screen right now. So Kelsey, where can people find you?
You can find me on Letterboxd at Kelsey A. Kilp. You can find me on the Dill Pickle Movie Network. I'm a co-host for the Marvelous Movie Mondays podcast with Dylan Randazzo, where actually Matt and I just dropped a commentary about Avengers Age of Ultron because we are doing a 2015 10-year retrospective. I also did a retrospective on Ant-Man as well. So you have those two things to look forward to. Matt and I have also taken over the Trivia League over at Marvelous Movie Mondays. So look out for MCU trivia in the next couple of months. And that's all I have to talk about at this time. Thank you.
Nice. You can find me here on Matty Loves Movies. I just recently dropped a 5225 about my sister's favorite movies. So go check that out. Kelsey, it's been such a good time talking to you. I love any time I get to just sit and talk with you about anything. So it's been so good.
I'm glad. I'm glad that you had a good 2 hours, and I just hope you keep the good vibes going today, because I just feel like that is probably what your sister would have wanted for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Have a good day.
All right. I hope you had a great day at Camp Film Camp.